All right.
Are we streaming, Alexi?
We're just missing Twitch. But I guess you can start. Yeah, YouTube is online.
Perfect. Okay. So, hello everyone and welcome. I'm Anna and I will be your host today on behalf of Product People. We, Product People, are a German based consultancy and we help companies efficiently develop great products. How do we do that? Well, first of all, we help our clients by acting as interim, aka freelance product managers, to fill a temporary gap in their organization, which we can do for a couple of months, even half a year, or sometimes even longer if necessary. Secondly, we help our clients turn product profitability turnaround and product growth through our advisory services or acting as a sparring partner for management. And last but not least, we love to share our knowledge in the product management field through training in this sector. So if you or anyone you know are in need of such assistance, we are always happy to help. Furthermore, together with you, we conduct these weekly meetings. And today, like always, we have a guest who will talk to us about exciting subjects from the product management world, subjects which will be then followed by a Q&A session and a friendly networking event on Zoom, to which we dearly invite you all. And today, we have the pleasure of learning more about optimally working with people as a product manager from our guest, Avinav Pashine. Avinav is a product manager at Facebook. Wow. So, Avinav, thank you very much for joining us today. We are very excited to learn about your experience and to receive your advice on working with people in our field. A topic of great interest for all product managers, regardless of the stage they are at in their career. So we're very much looking forward to your presentation. And please, Avinav, you have the stage.
Thank you, guys. Is my screen shared now, or do I have to do something to share my screen?
Share it again.
You can share now. I stopped my.
Yeah.
Works.
Can you guys see it? Cool. So hi guys, thank you for having me. I'm Avinav, and I'll be talking through the topic about working with people, and this is something very close to my heart, and I think it is one of the interesting challenges that I have faced in my career, and would like to take you through how I have kind of solved for it, or what are my best practices while thinking about working with people, and what has worked for me. This is not to say that this will work for everybody, but this is just my framework that I use in my day-to-day product management life, and I love to take you guys through it. So quickly about me, I am right now working as a product manager in Facebook. I support Audience Network. Audience Network is basically an ad network where we help businesses monetize through ads. And we help a lot of small and medium-sized businesses on revenue through displaying ads on their properties, and this is quite an impact the product has right now, especially during the COVID times. So before this, early on in my career, I started as a software engineer. I worked for a couple of years, decided that that was not something that excited me. I loved working with technology, but it was not about coding that I was really interested in. So I went on to do my MBA, and then from there I wore like a couple of different hats before landing into product management. So the first thing that I did after my MBA was I got an opportunity in sales, and where I was working for one of the IT companies back in India, which is Cognizant. Then after that, I moved into a consulting role with Capgemini, where I was working in mostly in the retail sector, working with e-commerce companies. At the time, I was working with Carrefour, and I worked with Carrefour for a couple of years. Moved on to become a product manager in Carrefour, and that was like my first experience in product management. I was with Carrefour for at least 5 years or so, and then moved on to work in Zalando. Guys joining from Berlin would be, or rather Germany would be aware about Zalando. They are like fantastic company. Then from there moved on to work for Door to Door there for a very brief stint before joining Facebook. So why I'm telling you that story is because my definition of product management has evolved as I have moved forward in my journey, and as I stand today, this is what I feel is product management is all about. It's the art of solving complex problems, leveraging technology through the optimum utilization of resources at hand. Many a times we as product managers are always talking about we don't have the right designer, or we don't have the right researcher, or we don't have the right product marketing counterpart for us to be able to deliver on a specific product. But through all these years, what I've learned is that you have to use the resources very wisely that are present right now, and that is why people management as such is very important, and is a very kind of and is a topic which is very interesting for me, more so because as I was talking about the different problems that product managers solve. So think about the business problems that your product might be solving, whether you are helping people search for specific products, or you are helping companies connect their technology through APIs. But these are like the business problems that are at the heart of any product management role. And the next step is like the technology problem, which is basically what kind of technology you need to use to solve a specific problem. And this is where a lot of challenges comes from the engineering team, which they will always get back to you and say, hey, this is not feasible, this is not something that we can build. But then you have to find out the most viable solution over there that is feasible at that moment to solve the business or the user problem. And the last one is about the people problem. And these are like more the problems that you face in your day-to-day life as product managers. You work with a lot of different kind of people. You work with engineers, you work with your leadership teams, you work with designers, researchers, and a whole lot of different cross-functional resources. And because you are kind of collaborating, you're trying to get to work with all of these people. There's always issues or challenges that evolves, and this is why solving for people problem is one of the most challenging aspect that I have found, at least in my career. And if you can do that efficiently, you are bound to succeed as a product manager. Uh, and and when it comes down to people as well, like I've basically worked in 6 different countries so far. I've been very fortunate to do so, but I've always found that people are not the same, even if they belong to the same culture, same geography, same company. They are like different kind of people, and each of them have got their own personalities. And that's where there is no one clear framework for solving for people challenges. So for today's conversation, I will basically, take you through two different scenarios when thinking about people problems. And this is again, just want to caveat this by saying that this is a high level framework. These are like some things that you do want to do, but it may or may not work. So take it with a pinch of salt. Make sure that when I'll basically go through some of the challenges that you might be facing with some of the frameworks when you want to apply them, but make sure that you find a right fit for these frameworks in your own scenario, in your own kind of a situation, and kind of adapt it or modify it or tweak it as you move forward, and kind of come up with your own kind of a framework that helps you to solve some of these scenarios or challenges. So the two scenarios that I would like to take you guys through, one is like about setting up a well functioning team. We'll go through in detail what a well-functioning team means, and what are the key characteristics of the well-functioning team, what kind of framework you can apply to set up a team. And the second one is working through conflicts. Again, this is something that I have been fortunate enough to face a lot many times in my career. Like there's always some or the other kind of conflicts going on with people, and we need to find good ways of solving them so that at the end of the day it is beneficial for the overall product and the company. So quickly jumping into the first scenario, which is about setting up team. Now, why is a good team important? I mean, as a product manager and seeing the people in the room, I don't have to tell you this, but this quote really resonated with me when I was like looking at it. No one can whistle a symphony. It always takes a whole orchestra to play it. You always need a good team. It has been very rare that individual performances will take you across that goal line to take you to success. You always need a whole lot of different people to perform before you can reach that product goal or that product launch or a new feature that you might be wanting to launch in the market. uh, and that is why setting up a well functioning team is very very important. What are the some of the key characteristics or qualities of a well functioning team? I see, like, based upon all the different places that I have worked, I see that there are like three important characteristics of a well-functioning team. And this is like the best of the best because a team also goes through various stages of formulation. So when it reaches to the full maturity, you can see that these are like the three key qualities of a well-functioning team. First one is about self-organization. A good example of a self-organized team is, imagine you're working in a team and suddenly you lose a designer. Now, how would you make sure that the product feature that you were going to launch gets launched on time and also leads to a very high quality user experience? And that's where a self-organized team will find the skill sets within the team itself and try to fill the gap which has been left over by the designer who has left the team. The second one is highly motivated. A highly motivated team does not need somebody else to come and kind of motivate the people inside the team. You don't need leadership to come and give you pep talks. You will usually have people in the team who are highly motivated, who really want to achieve that next product goal, the new feature that you're trying to launch, or the product that that you are trying to compete against in the market. Uh, and the last one is being autonomous. I think autonomy has a lot of benefits, a ton of benefits. Autonomy kind of brings the best in people. They also feel a lot more empowered, and also kind of helps ignite the creativity muscle in people. And I feel that creating a fully autonomous team is very important for the team to function properly in the longer term. The one other thing that I would like to talk about. Sorry, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah,
Okay.
that is the
Yes.
one with self-organized.
Okay, just a second. I have lost my screen. Just a second.
Okay, that happened to me too during one of our meetings, because if you share the screen, sometimes you can't find you can't find it anymore. Okay, you're muted, Avinav.
Now,
Yes, we can hear you.
okay. Sorry
And
about this.
we
I don't know what
see
happened.
that.
I think my browser crashed. Cool. So we were talking about being setting up a well-functioning team and what are the key characteristics of it. Um, I think as a PM, you're always looking for the outcomes that you want to drive. And how do you know that a team is functioning properly? So the key outcomes that I can feel, I can sense from a team when it is functioning very properly is like there is a strong sense of team spirit between people. There's a strong sense of loyalty and commitment to the organization, and there is a consistent willingness to sacrifice, personal objectives or personal career growth in favor of the larger growth. So these are like some of the key indicators, that you will see in a very well functioning team. Now, coming to the topic of what can you do as a PM to set up a well functioning team, and I know that the role of PM varies across companies, across organizations, even within bigger companies. But you as a PM, you have to be responsible, even if it is not by your role, you have to feel responsible for the overall well functioning of the team. And it is so very important for you to succeed in your own product area. So there are like three things that I feel, the bare minimum three things that you should be doing as a PM to set up the team. The first one is the vision of the team, and we will go in the details in upcoming slides. The second one is about principles, and I will explain you what I mean by principles and why are they so important. And the third one is the outcomes, the clear outcomes that you would want to drive, or that you would want to drive by the team and also by the individuals who are part of the team. So moving on, vision. I mean, this is no brainer for any PM. I think as a PM, whenever you are trying to kind of work on a new product, you ought to have the vision of the product. And this is, in a very simple way, it is about the target group that you are basically looking to kind of focus the product on, the goals, the needs, the key features, and the value that you are trying to provide with the product. And I have at times early on my career felt that we need to have a vision. Like the team went ahead, I went ahead and formulated the vision. But many a times the vision does not get landed. There's a difference between formulating a vision and landing it. By landing, I mean that each and every person in the team is able to explain what is the vision of the product independently without the PM's help. They should be empowered to go and talk to other product teams, other stakeholders about the vision of the product, and should understand it. It should become a brain tattoo in their mind, exactly what are we trying to achieve with the product in next 2 or 4 years timeline, whatever you have set out for the product. And this is amazingly powerful because it helps you to build focus, it creates momentum, it motivates people to achieve something that is challenging. It also creates alignment. For example, if there are like two different features that you would want to work upon, you can always revert back to the vision and say is like this feature will not lead us to that vision, to that goal, and that's why we shouldn't be building it. And then lastly, it provides a sense of purpose, and sense of purpose is one of the most empowering thing that people can feel about working on a product area, and sometimes it can do wonders. So I feel vision is important, not just to formulate one for the sake of it, but you also have to make sure that you land the vision with your team. Every person in the team is able to articulate it in an independent way. um, Next one is about principles. Now, when we keep talking about principles, many of you would have read the book by Ray Dalio about principles. What are principles? So principles are basically declarative statements about the values that the team will adhere to. I would highly encourage you guys, if you haven't read the principles by Intercom, I think they have done an amazing job in formulating the different kind of principles that product teams could have. And these are basically very high level generic principles to moving down to specific areas. For example, I think they have got principles on in terms of the R&D that the team should be doing, in terms of how the should approach a problem, how should design approach designs on intercom products, and is really detailed and a very good way of formulating principles for your own product. Now, some of the examples, this is basically a picture from the Intercom website. These are like, you know, ground level truth that nobody can deny, but it so helps you in resolving those conflicts, in providing a common ground, in reducing the ambiguity attached to it, especially in a scenario when people are are more autonomous when you don't want to be controlling them on each and every task that they should be doing. This is one of the highest leveraged tool that you could be using to make sure that people are following the same path. Moving on, outcomes versus output. You know, again, a very basic concept. Uh, like I personally, when I started my career, I used to focus on outputs, which was more about, hey, have we finished that user story? Hey, is that feature being developed or not? What about the product? But I think the outcomes are like the things that you want to achieve as a result of launching that product, as a result of solving that problem. So it's more about what will happen if you have successfully solved that problem. And as a PM, as you would be better off starting that conversation at the outcome level. So think about whether the problem has been solved, whether a customer has adopted a specific feature or not, whether we have changed the market competition or not. Are we better than before launching this product in the market or not? Are we more competitive, or whatever the goal that you are trying to achieve? So that is where the conversation should start, according to me. And then once you figure out maybe you're not able to reach a specific outcome, you're not able to reach that specific goal, then you can dig deeper. You can go a couple of clicks deeper and think about the various outputs that will lead to achieve that outcome, and then start debugging from the at a output level if required. But otherwise, as a PM, you want to be giving a lot more kind of a flexibility and autonomy to people working with you, and keeping the conversation at the outcome level, if you can, if you have a team which can basically pick up the output themselves. So outcome is important, and then if you focus on outcome, then you can easily move the conversation to impact, which is much more fulfilling conversation to have with the team. And then moving on, this is a very interesting graph that I found online. Now it talks about alignment versus autonomy, and I think we all have been, like I personally have been in all the different quadrants in this graph. Like I have, when I started early on, I have done micromanagement. I've also told people what to do to solve a specific problem. I have been totally confused at times, not knowing what's going on with my product. And I've also been outcome centered. And now, as more and more, I think it depends upon a lot on your practice as well. I try to define the outcomes and let people figure out, how are they going to reach it. So this is where, ideally you as a PM, you should be operating. You have to tell your team what do you have to achieve in terms of the outcome, and let them figure out the journey. And if you have principles by your side, you can make sure that they are following the right path. They are not compromising on some of the most important aspects of the product that you care about. And this is where the principles comes in handy. Think about it, the guardrails that you have got in the bridge. So you have told people is like they have to cross the bridge. They can build any kind of bridge themselves, but the guardrails around the bridge are the principles that help them determine and keep them the right path. So so thinking about this, I think at the end of the day, a good team is composed of following. I think there is respect between people. There is a focus on generating highest value for the business. There are like a good set of skill sets. There are knowledge experts. You have the problem first approach. We keep talking about that in and out as a PM, that you should always think about problems and not think about solutions. And there should be like a fail fast open culture, which is mainly driven by experimentation and hypothesis. So these are like some of the best practices that I follow. When I think about putting a team together and what that values and culture will look like. Uh, but the second thing is about working through conflicts. Not always you're gonna get you not always you're gonna succeed in creating that perfect team. There's always gonna be conflicts. You will have conflicts coming from people. You'll have conflicts coming from with leadership. You will have conflicts within the team. So how should you solve for them? Um, I think when I arrived in Facebook, like one of the first thing that I have learned from this experience is always think about building strong relationship with people. If there is one thing that you should be spending your time early on when you are in a new team, when you are in a new org, you should think about building strong relationship, and that is what matters in the longer run. You can acquire all the kind of skill sets, you can have the right people in the team, but if you don't have strong relationships, it won't work out. And I feel that strong relationship is can be achieved by this three different a combination or some of these three different tactics. One is expectations. What I mean by expectations is like, as a PM, you should think about sharing your expectations properly with the person. And not only should you ask them, not only should you share your expectations, but also ask them what are their expectations from your role. Because many times people don't know what product management role is all about. And at times this leads to a lot of conflict, a lot of confusion. So that's one. And the second one is, if you can reach to that level, you should also think about aligning expectations in terms of what you both are trying to achieve individually in your career. Like, what does that next 6 months looks like for you personally as well, not only from a team standpoint. And alignment at these two levels really helps in building that stronger relationship in terms of what are you trying to achieve, and you become more like partners. The second is about collaboration. If you have joined a new team, you should start thinking about opportunities where you can work together, and work together on any small, be it like a small project or a big project. Think about working in a more deeper level with each other, so that you can have you can have those challenges early on in your relationship, where you can think about is like, what is my style versus what is the other person's style, and how can you solve for it. And the last one is like feedback. I think we keep talking about it, but one of the mistake that I have committed early on is like, at times I have been a bit late in providing feedback to people. Like, I feel that maybe now is not the right time, or maybe it is too early. We have just started kind of working together on a specific project. What will be the other person feel? But what I've understood as I've moved forward is like, you should provide feedback as early as possible, even on the second day itself. And the feedback should be provided early, often, and in smaller chunks, so that it does not lead to a situation where you have a lot in your mind, and then you are just blasting through it after 3 months, that this did not work, that did not work, and all of that. And the other thing to note about is like, feedback should be forward looking, should be more about taking ownership and responsibility together, and thinking about like, how can we improve in future. It should not result into kind of some kind of a blame game between the two-person. I know there is like, there's always uh, this inner feeling about finding out problems, and making sure that people are held responsible for those problems and all of that. But I think when I have done them, even after doing them successfully, I often look back and ask myself is like, what has that helped me with? And more often than not, it does not help you a lot. In fact, it end up destroying relationships that you might have. So thinking about future, owning responsibilities, owning problems is the right way to go. At the same time, providing feedback, which is not framed as a blame, but more about, hey, how can I help you? How can I support you with this? We have a problem here. What can I do? That kind of a framing always helps. The other thing is, and this is very powerful, as a PM, one of the main thing you should be doing is like, actively search for misalignments. Like, go there, talk to people, talk to the team, understand what is happening, how the team is functioning. And one of your key roles should be about finding misalignments. Look for things where you even feel there's a slight chance of people getting misaligned. And if you catch it early, I think you are gonna help yourself and help the team in kind of solving for that misalignment early on, or like, talk to the person who might have this confusion and kind of clarify it, or maybe make sure that there's a shared context around product. Basically, take the right steps to preemptively avoid that misalignment from happening. Now, even doing all of this, in case there is a conflict, and and you cannot agree with a person or a set of people. What do you do? So this is where I think a lot of your expertise as a PM comes into play. First of all, it is very important to acknowledge that there is a conflict, that you and the other person, whosoever it is, the engineers, the XFN, the cross-functional resource, you cannot agree on something. So there is definitely a conflict. Don't try to kind of hide it under the carpet and say that these things are working as properly as possible. Now, once you have done that, what is important is that you have to understand why there was a conflict and what is the root cause of that conflict, and try to come up with options to solve them. So usually, it's a good idea to come up maybe 2 or 3 different scenarios of solving that conflict. For example, one of the thing that keep happening to me always is like there's always a conflict of scope for product, and you might be working with another product team, and they might be working on something, and that is conflicting the goal that you're trying to achieve. Now, how do you make sure that that is being caught up early, that is well acknowledged, and you have like 2 or 3 different scenarios outlisted for solving that specific situation. Once you have got the scenario, what is important is that you list down what are you going to do with it and discuss actively with the other person. There are usually 3 different tactics that I have seen to be working. One is either you can reach to a compromise and feel that it's a win-win approach. So basically, you the both the teams or both the parties can reach to a setup where everybody is happy and satisfied. I think that's the best scenario that can happen. But if you cannot reach there, I think somebody has to compromise. So that's where disagree and commit comes into play. Like, you don't have to agree to the other person completely. You can say is like, hey, I don't agree, but for the sake of time, for the sake of energy, or whatever it is, I'm gonna commit to doing it. And I feel that this will help us in the short run. If you cannot do that, if you cannot disagree and commit, you feel that your options are limited and your objectives will be seriously hampered. I think the other thing and the last thing you could do is like you can disagree with the person, say that hey, we cannot reach to a common level, and then we should escalate it. We should bring more people into the decision making process. And escalation is not always a bad thing. Escalation is not always a bad thing when the other party is aware that you are escalating it together to leadership higher up, asking them for their opinion, asking them to break the deadlock, and asking them to kind of find a solution for you guys. Because I mean, at some point of time, you have to ask for help. Um, so these are like the things that I feel are important while working with people. And as I mentioned, like those are like the 2 different scenarios that I have usually seen happening often. And this is like the kind of framework that I roughly operate on while trying to work with people, while trying to set up a team, and while trying to resolve conflicts. So that's it from my side. Um, I think I can take any questions that you guys might have. Um,
Sure. Thank you very much, Avinav, for sharing your knowledge with us. And everyone, you're dearly welcome to ask questions now, either verbally, you can do it on Zoom, or in writing in the chat. And our guests who join us from other platforms, YouTube, Facebook, you can also post your questions there, and we will transfer them and ask them to Avinav.
Okay, so I have a question actually, so if I can start. So first, thanks of all for your presentation. Really insightful to hear how you work with the people and organize team and go through the conflicts, which is sometimes a tricky situation. But can you share some thoughts on the topic of communication with senior management and accountability from project manager perspective, especially if something isn't going as nice or as great as was anticipated or predicted?
so just to understand this question right, is the question more about that senior management at times are not delivering as per your expectations, or like are they not meeting what you want them to do? Is that the
So more of the other way around. So
okay?
you as a PM have to deliver some kind of value for the business, which is, let's say, advertised by the senior management,
Mhm.
and you know that the problems are possible to be solved, and you just need to have either some time or explain why there are some issues which are not always obvious for the seniors at the first glance, basically.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, definitely. So I think how I have managed some of those situations are, you basically have to one figure out the right forums first of all to communicate those. In some companies, which we usually have product-led organizations, you will have product reviews where you'll be actively discussing how your product is performing. Um, and then what are the major challenges that you're facing at that point of time. I think what is key is basically two things. One is um, identify those challenges and make sure that you communicate them at a proper level to the leadership team. When I say proper level, most of the times the leadership team does not have time and energy to go into each and every minute details, right? So you need to you need to abstract that out and make sure that people understand there are challenges and make sure that that messaging has landed. Many times what happens is that you talk about all of these problems, but leadership team is like, you feel that they have heard it, but many times they don't have it at the back of the mind. It is just because they're doing so many things at the same time, they might not have it. So one of the best way that at least has worked for me right now is like find out those forums, have scaled communication done. Every time, think about whatever tools that you might be using, think about Slack, think about like for example in Facebook has a product called as Workplace that we use often. Think about maybe documents, whatever the tool is, and make sure that you do have that communicated out at a level which is kind of clearly understandable to them. The second one is you need to identify your strong partners even in the leadership team. So try to understand who are with you, who can help you drive some of that messaging in the leadership team, and maybe try to be more proactive and set up some time with them. The person you will always have an idea, the person who is really interested in your topic, and how can you leverage them to kind of make sure that these problems are well communicated to the leadership team inside out. And the third one is like some of the best people that I have worked with, they are very very uh, driven, and they are always very persistent about the messaging. So keep hampering, keep saying that these are the problems, these are the problems, these are the problems till they hear them, and make sure that they also understand that you are taking the right kind of right steps to solve it, because talking about the problems at times just does not help. So think about the solutions that you're doing and make sure you're communicating them.
Okay, much appreciated. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we also have a question from Santiago on YouTube. So thank you very much for the nice presentation, Avinav. Regarding the feedback stages, are there any insights, best practices you could share about product critique sessions at Facebook?
So I wouldn't be able to talk on behalf of the Facebook, but I can talk about all the best practices that I've seen in my career from different companies. So in terms of the product critic session, I think the feedback is sometimes we get into that habit of calling out the things that could be improved. And I think it has to be a balance of what is working well versus what can be improved. I mean, in any product, there's always some scope of improvement. And as a PM, you should think about like, is this the most important thing that the team should be working upon? Because your comment, your thoughts, and your opinions have a lot of value when it comes down to communicating that with the team. So think about how do you want to use it? Do you actually want the team to go ahead and fix that? And if so, you should talk about that very openly. and kind of make sure that you are appreciating the team as well, at the same time talking about the problems and challenges, and also talk about is like what can you do to help solve that, what kind of support, what kind of inputs you can provide further to solve that. What I've felt is like sometimes if you really are concerned about some of this aspects of the product, it is best done in a one-on-one kind of a setting where you can have more time with the person and then kind of explain them out, instead of calling out somebody in a bigger room where they have a lot more people and they might feel a bit more anxious discussing that topic.
Thank you very much. We have a further question from YouTube from Aniket. So thank you very much for the talk. How do you handle a situation when you do not have a self-organized and highly motivated team, even after you have set out the vision and outcomes together with the team?
Yeah. So as I was saying that the self-organized team is the highest level of maturity the team can reach to. I mean, yeah, it is essentially saying that the team is operating on their own, and you as a PM can start dedicating more of your capacity on things of broader impact, or on things that might be beyond your scope, and ultimately helping the org and ultimately helping the business achieve more. But many times, and more often than not, you won't have that team, kind of prepared and laid out for you. So you do have to create that, and that's where I think the three different dimensions that I spoke about: having a clear vision, making sure that has landed, having the outcomes and the principles there would help you. Now it is a journey. You have to go through that journey with your team and help them. There might be some junior members in your team, and then you should think about how best you can support them. You can think about like which part of the product needs more support from you versus what can be left over to maybe more senior members in the team. So it's kind of, there is no clear framework for it, but it is kind of you finding out which parts of the product needs more support, more attention from your side, and helping level up that part versus focusing on the entire product space as such, and helping the team succeed in the longer run. So it just depends upon a case by case basis, but think about the weakest parts of the product that are most critical to the success of the product and start supporting. It's a prioritization exercise, and start supporting those areas.
Okay, we have another question from Denise this time. So for your presentation, I have seen that you have worked in different companies and therefore assume that you have been in many situations the new member of the project. How is your experience as the new one in a group, and where there already is familiarity among members, and there are unspoken work practices already established?
Yeah. And yeah, definitely I have been in a lot more situations where I have been a new member in the team. um, so I think it's a very delicate art. A lot of, like, early on when I was very young in my product management career, I used to feel that I have to go and kind of create an impact. And impact for me was more about finding out the things that are not working and trying to kind of make them work. And what I've realized that not many people were really happy with me, because what I was doing is, like, as soon as I was joining a team, I was calling out the things that were not working instead of appreciating the things that were actually working in the team. So I think it's super important when you join a new team, you do two things well. You build trust and strong relationships with the people in the team, and you figure out how can you add value, how can you take the team forward without changing anything. Basically, the first 2 months, don't try to change anything. Think about what can you do to add value. And this could be from very low level to, like, just taking meeting notes, scheduling meetings, finding out maybe a new restaurant to eat with the team. Like, all of those small things kind of helps you to build that trust and create that value. And once you are more kind of habituated with the team, you know the people well, you know the personalities well, then you can start, proposing changes, because you do have to realize the team has come through a journey. You don't want to disrupt everything as soon as you join the team, unless something is dramatically going wrong over there and you have been asked to make those changes. And then again, you have to kind of agree with the team that, these are the things that are not working well. uh, do your due diligence, understand the root cause of those problems before suggesting changes. uh, Again, problem first approach. Don't think about the solutions right away.
Thank you. Another question from Resha Holkar from YouTube. Thank you very much for the insights, Avinav. Completely agree that a self-organized and motivated team is a key to success. Do you have any suggestions on how to get newly formed teams to that stage?
So it's, as I was saying, it's a journey. Now think about, what you can do versus what the other people can do. And what I focus on the presentation is what can you do as a product manager to help the team reach to that stage. It always starts from you. So I think the things that I've pointed out, like having vision, principles, and then the outcomes are very important to have in place, and these are like the basic building blocks of them. Apart from that, as like there's another question around, if the team is not self-organized, what can you do? I think this slightly touches to that question as well. It's where you need to understand what are the weakest points in the product team and how can you best support them. And the third one is like, I think there's one more thing which is very important, is to build the confidence of the team. Like many a times we keep focusing on the problems, but as a product manager, I feel that you are also an kind of ambassador for the team in front of the leadership. So make sure that you promote your team well as well, because if you promote it well, you see the positive points in the team, other people around you will start seeing that, and that will give team a lot of confidence in terms of moving forward, in terms of having that attitude to kind of go get and achieve goals. So a lot of your personality at times also gets reflected on the team. So it's very important for you to kind of promote your team, take them forward, appreciate them, figure out the right things, talk about the high points of the team in front of the leadership team, in front of other product teams, which can greatly help you.
Thank you very much. And we have one last written question. So, if you have team members that feel like poison, how long do you try to fix it? And when do you start to kick them out? And how would you do that? The
Sorry, I
question
missed the
from
question.
Rainer. Sorry?
Sorry,
Should I repeat
it
the
got cut
question?
off. I did not. Yeah, please.
So I can also phrase it verbally here on audio track. So imagine you have a team member that feels like being poisoned for the team, right? So what do you do to bring him on your side, to make him contribute again? Or what would be the criteria when you would start to try to push him out? And how would you do that then?
Yeah, I think again, putting on the PM cap of solving problems, it's important to understand why the person, and it's a long journey. I've been there, where some of those relationships have just not meant to work in the longer run. But I think there has to be initial effort, being done from your side to be able to fix those issues. And it's all about understanding what's the problem. Is it something that you can, so first of all, understanding from the person, having that honest conversation. It might not happen in the first meeting with the person if you don't know them. It might take some time, but couple of meetings, and you might start understanding what the problem is, right? And maybe talk to them honestly about things. I think a good exercise that I spoke about is expectation setting. Just also talk about the expectations that you have for yourself, that he has for you, and what expectations you have for him or her as well. And then the second one is principles. I think you have laid out a good set of principles on how you are going to operate as a team. And if the person is really important for the team, they will not be following at least some of those principles. So that might be again a good way to start that conversation. That hey, we aligned on this. I thought you agreed about it, but what happened? Why aren't we kind of following these principles? What's going on? Do you not agree with that? And try to understand. Like many times it is more nuanced and more deeper, like why they do feel about some things the way they do feel. But having that understanding, first of all, then thinking about can you solve it or not? Like, is it something that you could be solving for? Like, as a PM, maybe the person is not reporting to you. Then you might want to just understand at a very high level, the context from their managers, like what's going on. Is this something they have been working with? So it's also important not only to develop strong relationships with the people in the team, but also to develop very strong relationships with their managers, like a level up as a PM. And it's not to escalate again, it's just to have a good understanding of people with whom you're working. That's second. The third one is, if you come to a conclusion that this is something that you cannot solve for, uh, again, the three stages of the conflict management: is it a win-win? Is it a disagree and commit? Or is it like disagree and escalate? You can be, if you have built a very good relationship with the person, at least a good working relationship, and if you have been honest, you can tell to that other person that, hey, I think these things are not seems to be working fine, and I don't think that we can fix it at our level. Is it okay if we go ahead and reach out to the leadership team and try to escalate and think what they feel about it, and how can they help us to kind of solve this problem? This is like a rough framework. Many people still kind of you get filtered across these frameworks, but I would say that this works at least 75-80% of the time.
Thank you, Avinav. Very appreciated.
May I ask a question? Hello?
Yeah, please go for it.
Can you hear me? Okay, cool. So,
Okay, please, yes, let's just take one more question, and afterwards we can continue together on Zoom without being recorded. But please, Emre,
yeah, sure.
ask your question.
Just one last question for me. Actually, let's say I'm in a transitioning process from being a software sales guy and an all technical consultant to being a full-time product manager. So I want to ask a more preliminary question about, I think as far as I understood, product manager is a representative of the user rather than the sometimes the company itself or the strategies behind it. But so I think the user of the product is the main issue with main thing with the product manager. So can you give an example where from any company that you used to work with, Avinav, that you had to impose something coming from the user field to the team that you were working with, to the developers, to the engineers, and that you had a conflict that the team didn't accept it, or like that it's, but that it's a pretty impactful feature or a thing that you just have to want to put in the product backlog, but the team isn't let's say conflicting or opposing to that idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that has happened to me plenty of times. I have been more wrong than I have been right in my career. But I think, look, there are like two things. One is, there's a manager of mine who told me something about uh, your own opinions, and it's about strong thoughts and opinions held loosely. So it's about making sure that what your opinions are, they are strong. At the same time, you're basically open to changing them if required, if you get a new piece of information. So I think when you are going in there with a very valid reason, with a very valid user, pain point or a problem that you are trying to solve, and if the team gives you a pushback, first of all, you need to have understanding is like why the pushback is coming. Is it something, there could be a number of different reasons. Is this something that is valid and you don't have the right set of arguments to back that problem up? Or is it more about, sometimes it is more nuanced in terms of there might be a technical feasibility that people are not are worried about. For example, like engineers, many times they will just reject an idea at times, not always, but at times, because they don't feel that they will be able to develop a strong enough technical solution for it. So that happens. And also, sometimes people have their own conflicting opinions based upon their experience, based upon that what they have seen. They might be in that industry for long periods, like for more longer than you are there, and that's why they tend to reject the problems. So I think it's important to develop a very good understanding of why they are rejecting your ideas and your problems, and also click a level deeper. Sometimes the reasons that they might give you um, is not the is not are not the real reasons. So you might want to have the conversations in one-on-ones, and also think about like who is the person like who is giving you the most significant push, and you will like what I have personally found as many a times those people are actually right. It's not that you were wrong or so, but they had a specific aspect of the problem that you had never thought about or you had not considered. So it's very important to have all the data in place before you start pushing for a problem. And again, if you're not able to do that in spite of having a firm confidence in that, I think the conflict management approach that I spoke to you about in the last couple of slides can be used. So think about, what is the problem, understand the problem, figure out scenarios. Is it a win-win? Is it like disagree and commit, or is it like disagree and escalate? And then you can use any of those tactics to make sure that your idea is pushed forward.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for your questions. I suggest we end the streaming part of our event today and continue together on Zoom with the networking session. Thank you very much again, Avinav, for sharing these insights with us, which are always valuable, and especially today when team dynamics for a lot of us may change and also our way of working. So we greatly appreciate them. Thank you, everyone, for being together with us, and you're kindly invited to join us on Zoom. We will post the link in YouTube, Facebook. You will see it there. And also, we gladly invite you to our next week's event when we will talk about interesting product management topics with our guest speaker from Zillow.
Thank you
can
guys for
also,
having me.
yes, please, Avinav.
No, I was just saying thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for all the interesting questions that you guys had. I think my LinkedIn profile is already available. Feel free to drop me a line and any feedbacks that you guys might have. Look forward to it.
Thank you very much. And please don't go, everyone. Stay on Zoom and come join us for the end talk. We can stop